Hello there, how are you? It is a Saturday afternoon and it's story time. Okay, you guys, we are going to talk about this book, and it is by this doctor. He is an MD. There's a picture of him. Olivier Wenker, MD, is his name. And let me just tell you a little bit about him. He is European board certified and American board certified. European board certified in anesthesiology, critical care medicine, and emergency disaster medicine. And then he's American board certified in anti-aging and regenerative medicine. Hi guys. He's a fellow in integrative cancer medicine and metabolic and nutritional medicine. He is a retired professor from the University of Texas. Anyway, he had a deal with a disease. He got, this is a few years ago, he got what they call Miller-Fisher syndrome, which is a subtype of Guillain-Barré syndrome. So you may have, hey brother, you may have heard of Guillain-Barré syndrome, where antibodies start destroying the myelin nerve sheaths of mostly peripheral nerves. This damage is basically isolated to the brain, and including the nerves leaving the brain. Both are neurological conditions that cause mild to severe muscle weakness. I mean, he says on the back here, he was diagnosed with this, basically left the hospital in a wheelchair, expecting not to walk, and possibly for the rest of his life. He says he knew that any exposure to toxins or heavy metals would further attack his brain, so he made adjustments to his lifestyle. But that disease, let's see, he says the human body, I'm going to read a little bit of this to you, not a whole lot, but some. The human body confuses the proteins in the brain tissue or nerve sheaths with bacterial or viral proteins. The typical symptoms of this rare condition are complete ataxia, the loss of full control of bodily movements, all kinds of stuff. I mean, let's see. Lack of coordination, slurred speech, trouble eating and swallowing, deterioration of fine motor skills, difficulty walking, heart problems, tremors, all kinds of eye problems, dizziness. So he thought at first he had the Zika virus, but he didn't. So anyway, long story short, he left the hospital, like I said, in a wheelchair. And this was particularly bad because he was supposed to walk his only daughter down the aisle in a few months. So since he had exhausted all treatment options of modern medicine, he started to search for alternative means to support his recovery. And he called his friend Gary Young. Gary Young owns Young Living. Well, he died, but he did. His wife runs it now. Internationally known for his expertise in using plant-based remedies and essential oils. So he says, combining their experiences led to a health-supporting protocol for me. It became very important to stop any further damage to his nervous system. Hi, Kathy. Wherever that damage might come from. Now, at that time, he'd been a speaker for Young Living. I've heard him speak at the conventions that I go to every year in Utah, and he's a great speaker. He's just, you know, he's a doctor, he's an MD, he's a scientist, so he has just great science in everything he does. Okay, so he says the brain and the nerves are highly fatty organs. Therefore, any exposure to herbicides, pesticides, and toxins or heavy metals would further attack his brain, in addition to messing up his hormone balance and overall health. So he's intensely started to study the medical literature to see what he could do to avoid that. And as a physician, he had seen what it did to his patients when there was that increased toxic burden. Disease, unbalanced hormone levels, decreased fitness and wellness, and the harsh chemicals are even called endocrine disruptors because they profoundly change our hormone balance, which then leads to all kinds of problems. Hi, Kyle. So he had to make adjustments in his own life, and so he and his wife completely overhauled every remaining toxic product. I mean, he already had been on that path, but you know, it takes a while to kind of like overhaul your whole house. He did survive his illness, and he did walk his daughter down the aisle, and he's now fully recovered. And so he says, this outcome astonished me, and sharing this information suddenly became very personal. So he's made it his mission to do that. Now, Gary, his friend, he says, Gary, living in the world of integrative and alternative natural plant-based methods, and I, living in the modern world of medicine full of pharmaceutical drugs and prescriptions, met somewhere in the middle. We believed that enjoying the technology of modern diagnostics and personalized medicine while incorporating the plant-based natural ways God had entrusted us with was the best compromise. Hey, Molly. So he says he became a biohacker. A biohacker changes the outcome of disease to one of wellness by influencing proteins in the body that attach to DNA and define how certain genes are expressed. This is a new thing. We didn't know about this. Hey, Michelle, we can talk about it. It's a field called epigenetics. Have you guys heard of epigenetics? Like, that word wasn't even around not that many years ago. It's important to know that positive and negative changes can be inherited and therefore influence the health of generations to come. All right, so listen to this. This is so amazing. Endocrine disruptors, the silent killers. According to the Environmental Working Group, you may have that app on your phone called EWG, Environmental Working Group Cosmetics Database, an average person in the United States uses 9 personal care products each day containing a total of 126 unique chemical ingredients. More than 25% of all women and 1 out of every 100 men use at least 15 personal care products daily. Hey, KJ. This is not only an issue in the United States either. A research poll by a cosmetic company showed that women in the United Kingdom are exposed to 515 toxic and harsh chemicals every day, although Europe is ahead of us on this, guys. So far, what we're talking about are things like shampoo and conditioner and deodorant and lotion and cream and cologne and perfume and cosmetics and all these different things that we have in our houses that we put on our bodies. Not to mention things like air fresheners and laundry soap and dryer sheets and soaps and candles and all of this. This is not what was the intended way for us to live. It's shocking, okay? I continue to be shocked. I've been shocked for 10 years, more, 20, 25, 30. I still am. Okay, listen to this. A study spearheaded by that EWG group detected 287 chemicals in the umbilical cord of newborns, 180 of which are known to cause cancer in humans or animals, 217 of which are toxic to the brain and nervous system, and 208 of which cause birth defects or abnormal development in animal tests. On average, a baby has 200 industrial chemicals and pollutants in its umbilical cord blood. Does that shock anybody besides me? Okay. Toxins and harsh chemicals are known to be endocrine disruptors, which means that they change the type and levels of hormones in our body. In fact, chemicals are also called xenoestrogens. Xeno is from the ancient Greek, and it means foreign or from the outside. And estrogens are the main female hormones. Xenoestrogens absorb into the body. They attach to estrogen receptor sites. Okay, so those bad things get absorbed into the body, and then they attach onto those receptor sites on a cell. There's millions of little receptor sites just waiting to suck that endocrine disruptor in. and change the way the body works. Okay, here's another study. You're just gonna... Several studies looked at the effects of pesticides, herbicides, and fertilizers in the waterways and found an almost complete lack of male fish. Almost 100% of the fish has been feminized by these endocrine disruptors. Over 90% of the male fish had eggs in their testicles and were labeled intersex fish. Sperm production and quality in these male intersex fish were severely impaired. Hey, Colleen. Other studies looked at frogs and found that herbicide endocrine disruptors caused complete feminization and chemical castration in the males. As a result, 1 in 10 male frogs became a fully functioning female, and 75% of the male frogs had no more sperm nor testosterone and could not reproduce anymore. So, suffice it to say that endocrine disruptors are disastrously affecting the environment, he says here. Obviously, they're harming animals that we can see, and, you know, if they're harming animals, they're harming us. Okay, let me see here. Listen to this. A huge body of medical literature describes the negative effects of xenoestrogenic chemicals on male and female reproductive health. Over the past few decades, we've seen a steady decline in human fertility. More couples struggle to have children than ever before, and when they do finally procreate, they pass on genetically changed information to their offspring. I'll tell you what, if I was having trouble getting pregnant, boy, the first thing I would do, if you know anybody, the first thing you should tell them to do, I love you too, Joe, is get rid of every chemical. And it's possible. It's totally possible. I've been doing it for 10 years or more than that, but for sure 10 years with this group. I mean, that's just like huge. Okay. Also, this is really interesting. A growing number of human studies conducted in the last 10 years describe obesogenic chemicals, that means fat-inducing chemicals, as being important cofactors in the increasing rate of obesity around the world. The effects of exposure to these estrogenic chemicals are crucially important during developmental phases of life, when pre-programming for an adipogenic outcome. Okay, adipogenic means the future body weight of a person may occur. These obesogenic toxins and chemicals might also predispose individuals to gain weight despite their efforts to limit caloric intake and increase levels of physical activity. That makes so much sense because most toxins and chemicals are stored in fatty tissue. That's where they store. So all these chemicals that we have all over our house, they're absorbing into our body and they're storing in fatty tissue. Not to mention our brain is like mostly fat. Let's see here. There's a lot more here. Other diseases cost billions of dollars every year. There's also increasing evidence that these toxins and chemicals not only affect your body and health, but that they affect the children and grandchildren via transgenerational impacts caused by, again, the epigenetic changes. So, endocrine disrupting chemicals can change the human epigenome. The epigenome is defined as a collection of proteins and other compounds that can attach to the DNA and therefore modify the way genetic information is expressed. Your offspring can then inherit these changes. Isn't that interesting? That's what epigenetics is. Your choices today will impact future generations. So, this is the first chapter in this book. This is his why. Go back and listen to the beginning of his why he wrote this book. And he's just, you know, it's just, he feels this passion to this. These are the things we have to change. And this company, of course, makes it easy because they have over 500 things, healthy products to make those changes with. So I've been doing it for 9 years, going on 10, and it's a process and it takes a while. But this book is sort of 12 months to clean living. He explains it all right here. Hi, Anne. Hi, Heidi. And so each chapter talks about another area of your life, of your home, where you can make those changes and why it's important to do it. And can I just say one thing here? And I'm a very optimistic person, but I'll tell you what, the government's not going to tell you about any of this. It's not in their interest. It's not what they do. Hey, Heidi, they are great at keeping terrorists away, hopefully, but telling us how to live a healthy life, no, this is not their forte. This is not what they do. Why? Because big pharma, pharmaceutical companies, and big oil, they pretty much own Washington. They run it because they have all their lobbyists, and every senator and congressperson will tell you that. In fact, they've told a bunch of us, just go back to your own, hey, Kelly, go back to your own communities and make a difference there, because it ain't happening in Washington, right? Because they have no interest. Pharmaceutical companies are for-profit companies. I'm all about for-profit companies. That's what built America, so yay for business. But they're making a profit on their medicines, and you cannot patent anything that's natural. It's illegal to do that. So they're not going to tell you what natural things are going to make you healthy. Why would they? They're a for-profit company. So they go get the plant that's full of 300 chemical constituents, some we haven't even identified yet, and they pick out the one chemical constituent that, oh, it's the biggest one when they do it on their tests and graphs, and there's the most of this chemical constituent in this plant. They take out that individual, they isolate that chemical constituent, put it in some medicine with some stuff that's synthetic, and then they patent it. That's how it happens. That's how it works. And so that's how they make money. And they are so huge, and it's like been 100 years of this, that they have millions of dollars to spend on advertising. And that's why when you're watching regular TV, every other ad is about a medicine for some disease. And then, you know, my gosh, the side effects may include death, or, you know, thoughts of suicide and homicide, or, you know, whatever. I mean, it's crazy. So you're never going to get what you need to know that route. And that's why we all have to become what I call a health detective. And we have to do the research, and we have to, you know, okay, here I am on my soapbox, but I'm sorry, I'm just going to do it. This is what I do. You call me and I'll help you. But it's not going to happen any other way. It's just not, because the mainstream is not motivated to do that. All right, I'm excited about this book. I can't wait to read the rest. I will continue having story time. How about that? I think this is fun. Hey, Marianne. Hi, Nancy. All right, if you didn't hear it, go back and listen to the first part. But love you guys. God bless you. Be healthy. Let me know if I can help you. Oh, you're so sweet, Marianne. You're my favorite person. Have a nice Saturday night. Okay.